back. Thank you for staying with us on Opinion Court. Just before we wind up, we must discuss the rallies that court has been having, of course, ahead of the major one to welcome back Raila Odinga from his trip to the States. But first, let's start by listening to what Mutahi Ngunyi believes is the real reason behind CORD's reinvigoration.
But I do not think the hypothesis has been posited that the West is behaving the way they are because of Easternization. I don't think that hypothesis is correct. They are not fighting the East. I think that's just some kind of a ploy. I think they would rather work towards an Africa Spring, pretty much like the Arab Spring. And I think that that is what they're working towards. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're working with Raila Odinga and CORD in putting together this Africa Spring. CORD has told us they want to have elections before the term of the Jubilee government expires, which means that probably there are some things they know that we do not know.
And what would that African Spring, in your opinion, look like?
An ungovernable country, insecurity galore, bombs being blown up. We were hearing they want to blow up people on traffic and that kind of stuff. Until we have a situation where we say we have no confidence in this government to be able to deliver on security and other matters. And when we get to that point, then you have an uprising from below. And if it's very well choreographed, and do remember 43% of the population did not vote for the current government, which means they are grudged. And if you have them begin an avalanche, this could lead to a spring that could flow into Uganda, that could go into Rwanda, that can go into South Sudan. And the West has been very good in choreographing such springs. I wouldn't put it past them. And in the case of Kenya, this is beginning with rented terrorism. But I could also be wrong.
Is he in fact wrong? Let me start with you, Dr. Chris. He's alleging that the new push we're seeing, the rallies, CORD going out and telling Kenyans, voice your grievances against the government, is part of a larger scheme to form an African Spring. Are you complicit?
I think first and foremost, you need to understand where Mutahi Ngunyi is coming from. In terms of research, you look at the person in terms of skewness. This is a gentleman who came up with the issue of tyranny of numbers. So whatever opinion he comes up with, the aspect of objectivity is not there. Mutahi Ngunyi is objective. He knows where his bread and butter comes from. So to me, I'm not going to agree with what he's saying. But what's happening, Anne, I don't think there's any problem for the CORD coalition to assemble, to meet, to demonstrate, whatever the case, as outlined in Article 37 of the Constitution. We are just making rallies, and we are here to welcome our CORD leader, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So I don't see any problem, especially from the Jubilee side. Recently, you saw the issue of banning of political rallies. And I want to tell you that Kenya, we've come from very far in those dark days. And it costed Kenyans' lives to be where we are today. And we are here to defend the Constitution. What is there is, I want to tell IG for him changing the mind. And it's because the CORD leadership met, they discussed, they looked at the Constitution. Whatever CORD is doing is very constitutional. As outlined in Article 37 of the Constitution, Kenyans are free to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and do everything lawfully. So whatever the meetings we are talking about here, it has nothing with what Mutahi Ngunyi is saying. The issue is here is this: let the rallies go on, as outlined in Article 33 of the Constitution, where there's freedom of expression. But in case we are going to have anybody propagating for war or hate speech, the law can take its course. So I don't see the problem why the issue of rallies that CORD is having is bringing a problem. But we're trying to tell the Kenyans, look, down the line, this government promised zero tolerance to corruption. Where is the corruption? Corruption index has gone up. The issue of insecurity, we're having insecurity cases all over. We've seen the issue of cattle rustling. So we want Kenyans to get to know. And Kenyans are going to give a report card so that whatever the right time comes, they're going to make a wise decision. But I don't think CORD has any intention of bringing or another action that is unlawful. Right. We are very lawful people. We are very constitutional in everything that we're going to do. We want our rallies to continue, and we want the police to be there to provide security for our people. Because many allegations have been there, the issue of terrorism. We don't want this thing to be a conspiracy. When we go for the rallies, we have a bomb or whatever the case. because we are really watching, and the element of terrorism should not be used as an excuse. You realize that the Jubilee side had talked of coming up with a rally, which was a fallacy. It was a lie. Okay, this was just because of the issue of bringing in the confusion so that they banned the rallies, which violates the constitution.
Right.
So what is there is this: I want to tell the Kenyans to turn up in large numbers, and it's going to be peaceful.
All right, let's listen to what Murkomen has to say to that. And please include what you've heard from Mutahi Ngunyi.
Basically, what Mutahi is saying, I think it's the extreme end. My point is this. I mean, this homecoming thing in Kenya it shows the level of idleness of the opposition. I mean, Raila goes to America to go and study for a month, you do a homecoming. Next time he goes to China for 2 weeks, you will do another homecoming. He goes to UK for another. It is a complete show of, and I've said this in public. And
that how the number of homecomings has the deputy president gone?
Perhaps let him finish.
I'm saying that homecomings has become some sort of part of the culture of the republic, and I am really surprised that grown-up people would assemble here to go and receive somebody who has gone for a private tour to US. But the point is this. Let me come to the issue of the rallies.
Please.
The opposition, especially in Parliament, where my colleague is a leader of the coalition in the opposition. In Parliament, there's only majority and minority. When you are the majority or minority, there is a lot of work to be done in doing bills, in questioning cabinet secretaries, questioning national executive on implementation of the constitution, on implementation of Jubilee policy. There is a lot of work to be done. CORD has 24 governors out of the 47, which is slightly higher by one than they should be busy working with those governors to assist them, to hold a rally. In fact, when the issue of Jubilee holding a rally came up, I said, well, you can do your rally, but I don't think that us who are in government, who have a business to deliver a manifesto, can be going to a rally at the moment. We should be actually working on how to implement I think, and I've said this, CORD need to appreciate one thing. You can be in opposition, but you don't lose your patriotism. You must understand the times. You can't just tell people we are facing insecurity and you're calling for rallies. It's a time to sit down and say which laws we need to amend, how do we need to assist the cabinet secretary in matters of security, because you must demonstrate patriotism. But they can have as many rallies as they have, because I have seen it's a demonstration of a high level of idleness.
All right. Yeah. Interesting views.
A final question to you. We've heard very heated views tonight, and there is no doubt that many of the issues that CORD are raising are issues that every Kenyan, regardless of whichever side of the political divide they fall on, are concerned about. We're all concerned about security, we're concerned about the cost of living, etc. In what way, in what constructive way can both sides of the divide discuss these matters and bring resolve for Kenyans?
Precisely, that is the big question, and we must be concerned. I think before I just say one word about that, I want to tell you that Mutahi Ngunyi's approach that we are going to have an Arab Spring is far-fetched, and it is probably serving a particular political class to create fear which is not there. I think we do not have even people who can create an Arab Spring. The Arab Spring came out of poor people. The people you are going to see on Saturday, the likes of Chris and Orengo, are actually not the wretched of the earth. They are the bourgeoisie, and they cannot accept any disorder in this country. So they have an interest. So this is hypocrisy. Even for them thinking they can lead an Arab Spring, it will not. But what I want to say quickly is this: the reason why that we are having this kind of scenario, the person who has woken up CORD, CORD actually is Jubilee. It is the mistakes of Jubilee that have woken up CORD. So what is required is for the two parties to sit together and discuss. Where CORD has made a mistake, it should own up. Where Jubilee has made a mistake, it should say, yes, you are telling us we have appointed people from one region alone, now we can correct this. Only dialogue can save this country. But any confrontation that will lead to bloodshed, count me out.
Thank you for that. Let's take in your views now, and thank you so much for sending them in. We'll be reading them out next. And here we are. The coalition was based on a common denominator, ICC. You're referring to Jubilee here. With the cases falling apart, they no longer share anything in common. #Opinion Court. The day we will be run by opinion rather than our ethnic line, we will go far. #Opinion Court. I think the Jubilee government should be given enough time to lead the country in their best way possible. Mutahi is a genius. That spring theory to me is very true. Court have wrangles too. It's only because they're not in government that it does not show, especially Raila and Kalonzo. Hashtag Opinion Court. Thank you for your views. There are so many. We're bound by time. We cannot read all of them right now on air, but certainly after this, we really do take time to go through your feedback, and thank you once again for it. I want to thank my guests today, Dr. Chris Wamalwa. Thank you so much for coming. Professor Edward Kisiangani and Senator Kipchumba Murkomen. A pleasure hosting you all, and thank you for watching Citizen Live at 9. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend ahead.